Thanks very much. Joining us is senior BJP leader and leader of the opposition for the BJP in the Rajya Sabha, Mr. Jaitley. Mr. Jaitley, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. If I can start by asking you and quoting back to you what party leader Rajnath Singh said at your recently concluded conclave. He said that Narendra Modi's challenge will be to clean up the huge economic mess that has been left behind by the UPA. I mean, the implicit message is that yes, you are coming to power, and B, you are going to inherit a weak economy. If I could ask you, what to your mind is going to be the big economic priority, the number one challenge that you will face, you believe, if you were to come to power as far as the economy is concerned?
I think what's happened in the last few years is a loss of confidence in the Indian economy. Investors internationally have lost confidence, investors domestically have lost confidence. The credibility of the governmental decision-making process itself has suffered. You have projects which have been held up for years together, not being cleared. You have decisions of a political priority which are aimed more at generating votes rather than rejuvenating the economy, which had priority in this government. As a result of this, you are now approaching a situation where the present government, when it goes out, hopefully it does go out, leaves behind a growth rate of less than 5%. That's by all likelihood the situation. And I think what you need to get back is a momentum in the Indian economy. Obviously, if there is a political change today, as the world expects it to take place, that itself will be a significant development. People,
Mr. Jaitley, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let me ask you some specifics. Let me start by talking to you about taxes, because your Prime Ministerial candidate, Mr. Modi, has said time demands a new tax reform. He has not then gone on to specify what he means by that. But I also want to put to you what seems to be a difference within the BJP's senior leadership as far as this Arth Kranti proposal of abolishing all taxes, replacing that with a banking transaction tax. Sushma Swaraj has termed that proposal as fantastic, and she believes that it requires only willpower to be implemented. Nitin Gadkari argues if we apply the banking transaction tax, we will get a revenue of 40,000 lakh crore rupees. Where do you stand on this? Will this be part of the BJP's manifesto to abolish all taxes and replace that with a banking transaction tax?
Well, the BJP has not accepted the whole concept of a banking transaction tax. Obviously, there have been suggestions made by the Arth Kranti to the BJP. There are other well-meaning people who've come out with this suggestion. I can tell you that the proposal on the face of it sounds very popular and very attractive, but I am quite conscious of the huge number of difficulties which are there in implementing such a proposal, and therefore the BJP as a responsible party is not going to jump to it and say, without really going to such a proposal, without really figuring out what the figures are going to be, the consequential spiral effect of this is going to be, to jump in and accept this. Therefore, the BJP has nowhere stated for the moment that this is a part of the BJP manifesto or BJP is going to accept it. Of course, it sounds a very attractive proposal, but one has to examine it at length. There has to be a considerable
So you don't agree? You don't agree with Ms. Sushma Swaraj and Mr. Gadkari, sir? You don't agree with Mr. Gadkari and Sushma Swaraj?
I think they've made their own suggestions. I have recently at the Institute of Chartered Accountants delivered a speech in the presence of Baba Ramdev, where I raised a few questions about this whole proposal which were there in my mind. While I do concede that Indian tax systems need simplification, they need rationalization, they need a lot of freedom from the Inspector Raj, but at the same time, unexplored proposals cannot be accepted on the face of it till they are fully examined. Governance is serious business, and therefore even if my colleagues have on the face of it found some attraction in these proposals, this is only subject to a much further discussion, and I don't think Indian system has adequately discussed these proposals as yet.
All right, so you're at this point in time saying that there has been no decision as far as this controversial tax proposal is concerned. It may or may not find its way into the BJP's manifesto eventually. I now want to talk to you about this debate on populism versus prudence, and you've accused the UPA government of weighing in on populism as opposed to weighing in on prudence. When we talk about the path to fiscal consolidation, and the government has outlined that it will meet this year's fiscal deficit target of 4.8%. Next year is perhaps the bigger challenge of 4.2%, and the eventual target is 3% of fiscal deficit by 2017. Where does the BJP stand as far as the path of fiscal consolidation is concerned? Will fiscal consolidation be a big priority if you were to come to power?
Obviously, fiscal consolidation is going to be a priority for any government. You can't have mindless spending beyond your ability to do so. And those who believe in populism as opposed to prudence of a kind will certainly realize that populism itself is intended to win elections. Effectively, it doesn't win elections. You had populist schemes which came up in Rajasthan, distribution of free medicine. Suddenly a pension scheme was announced, and still you had a result where the Congress party has got the lowest ever figure in history in Rajasthan. So populism didn't win them support. Now you had a lot of popular schemes which the UPA had announced, but current indications are they're not doing well despite that populism. What people expect in this country is good governance, honest governance. They want an economy which will grow. And even if you see that there are so many stages, for instance, at a stage where India was growing at 8.5%, 9% for 3 to 4 years continuously, could we have considered retirement of debt? Instead, we went in for the bank loan waivers, and we started proposals of this kind. Now, temporarily, it may have won some brownie points to the UPA, but at the end of the day, it probably did contribute to the fiscal deficit figures.
So linked to that question then is, what do you intend to do as far as the subsidy bill is concerned, the subsidy burden is concerned? This government, some would say, did bite the bullet as far as the unpopular decision of hiking diesel prices were concerned, even moved on LPG. In fact, now there is a partial rollback as far as the LPG proposal is concerned. But where will the BJP stand on the issue of controlling subsidies, specifically fuel subsidies? Let me start by asking you that.
These are all decisions. These are finer points which are to be weighed when you are in government. The government's ability to spend will have to be weighed against how much is the burden that you put on the consumers. Now, when we were in power last time, the crude prices were in the $28 to $30 or so, and suddenly when it went up and shot to the sky, the UPA decided to go in for this kind of a decontrol. Now, there are some areas on which you will require a subsidy, but those subsidies must be targeted towards the poorest section of people. Those subsidies can't be an unquantified amount given to an unidentifiable section of people, and therefore these will have to be very carefully measured. I would not at this stage like to go into the specifics of this. Of course, in Indian economy, the character of the consumer being such that a particular vulnerable section will require to be subsidized, but then they'll have to be very carefully targeted subsidies.